Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, a legal woman was detained. The one in this picture was detained by ICE. But a little white lie tactic. Mental games basically are constantly being played. And they really do think collectively Black people are stupid for not seeing through these little disgusting tactics. Yes. Because the only thing about this story was, oh my goodness, ICE detained this innocent and sweet lady who has been in the country for numbers of decades, and she was just coming home from her native original country, right? That her parents immigrated from when she was a teenager to the United States. And even though she's been in the United States for several decades, how dare those ICE people detain this wholesome woman? And then you start looking at the actual correspondence about her, and I'm like this. Right? It's a disgusting tactic. And again, they really do think that overall black American people are stupid to these little disgusting tactics, right? It's like they like, well, those silly Negroes don't know how to play the game. What are you talking about playing a game? What do you mean playing a game? Yes. Okay, I'm not understanding. Exactly. When you don't know how to play the game, and especially they look at millions of American Blacks and say those silly Negroes don't know how to play the game. Yes. See, like in this topic, it's like, oh my goodness, we want those Negroes to look at this kind of situation and be like, yes, they need to free Lillian. The ICE, they need to free Lillian, and those Negroes need to fight for numbers of immigrant rights. Even though when George Floyd and Tamir Rice and Fernando Castillo and Freddie Gray and Ahmaud Arbery and the list goes on, and Sandra Bland, Antoine Jefferson, and the list goes on. You say, where's all these people at? Let me tell you where all these same numbers of immigrating groups of ones. This applies to the pro-border breaking illegal immigrants, various types of political figures, and the list goes on and on. Where are these same people at when these consistently anti-American black fame type tactics keep happening to American Black? Where are these same people at? Yes, right. But at the same time, they want to keep. Before I get into that, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and play this because before I get into the story, this is gonna be a short show. Because the thing about it is, this particular topic relating to that particular Lillian woman who was supposed to be legal and detained for just nothing. That's only one particular part, because you got all various types of other different people from various types of groups who know they are, that have an anti-American Black hatred and playing little silly games and trying to minimize American Black pain, right? When themselves are latecomers to America, when that person's parents are latecomers to America, right? And they showing their vow by their actions of anti-American Black vitriol, right? But they keep thinking that American Blacks just supposed to keep tolerating this, right? And fighting for immigrant rights. Watch the end pro border breaker, illegal immigrants, and pro open borders, and et cetera, et cetera. Let me show you the hypocrisy of this.
The task force reported the total amount could be as much as $800 billion. $800 billion. That's 2.5 times the size of our entire state budget. To pay for that, you need a major tax hike, unlike anything this state has ever seen before. I recognize and acknowledge the painful part of our history. The pains of our past should not be paid by the people of today. The majority of our state is Latino and Asian, making up 55% of our population. Most of them, like me, are first, second, or third generation immigrants who had nothing to do with slavery.
The insultingness of this vileness what easily is anti-American Black vitriol to minimize the number one culture, not talking about in slavery times, but the number one culture still in the 21st century, from 2000 to still 2025. Today is April 6, 2025. And the number one group who has the most hatred put upon them is American Blacks. Not from who you heard a second ago. Her name is Kate Sanchez or something like that. I think Kate Sanchez, the California Assembly person. The nerve of her and being a latecomer, and she's only around, I think she was born around 1988. A latecomer. Her parents were latecomers. They talk about what her parents' immigrant status was when they came over. Were both of them illegal? Was one of them illegal? You said it goes, but they got the nerve to sit there and insult American Blacks. We ain't got anything to do with this, and such and such part of California is made up of more Asians and which Asians? I'm gonna get to that in a little bit, right? See, that's another insulting because you got a number of Asians that can't stand other Asians, right? And she said, oh, majority Latinos. Which Latino? There's Afro-Latinos. And the nerve, see, this fool won't talk about how many numbers of American Blacks up there in those various parts of California will tell you the hatred that numbers of certain type of Hispanics have for numbers of Black Americans. She won't tell you how many times they've been called the N-word and getting in fights over racialness that certain types of Hispanics have shown numbers of American Blacks. She won't tell you that kind of stuff, right? Because she's vile in her minimizing, right? But watch this right quick before I get you. I'm trying to get to the story. She won't talk about. Give me a second. Found it. Did I have it? Oh man, did I sit there? Oh, here you go. See, she won't talk about this right here. For people who don't know, Ryan Garcia is supposed to be a decent boxer. And not long ago, he came across a GCR hero in a extremely anti-American Black rhetoric, just despicable, demonic. But okay, Sanchez, right? California Assembly, right? She won't talk about this. This is 21st century, right? What does that say? Ryan Garcia, he loved the N-word. See, that's why the N-word needs to be thrown in the trash can, right? It's a term of non-endurance. It's a term of hatred. So when people hear a number of Black folks relating to that word, they're laughing. Now Black folks can't go to some other country and utilize certain not so good words toward their own other people's intra slang of certain type bad correspondence and slang toward one another. You can't do that. But see, in Americanism, people like, oh man, we can say the N-word, and certain numbers of person with an economic culture who use the N-word. Well, why can't we use it? I don't even go into all that. That little silly tactic. But you see this hatred here. But American Blacks supposed to fight for immigrant rights, right? Pro border breaker illegal immigrants supposed to fight for that, right? Supposed to be down with our political personnel who want open borders. And who want to sit there and give multi-millions of border breakers just citizenship, not earned, right? Let me go ahead and finish playing this. Just looking at this, they're gonna talk in a second in the background. But look at the wording. I'm about to play something.
Nigga, you supposed to hit those tests and throw up the peace sign. That means you want to.
What I said niggas are worried about niggas in the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER. No, you didn't hear that.
Can you say? No. Can you say it again?
Okay.
And look at the bottom here. Rangorthia, right? George Floyd is a biat. Do you understand how that sounds? But Kate Sanchez, the one that was trying to minimize that, the California Assembly person is trying to minimize the anti-American Black hatred by certain numbers of Hispanics like this. And then she minimizes Black pain. And that's a disgusting type person who does that. Because they're not going to let you sit there and say, hey, hold on for a second. But you over here, you're a latecomer. You even said yourself that most of you come from a first, second, third generation only immigrating status. So you come over here with America's already been built by basically Black Americans and numbers of personnel within the Panama-based culture who have been the main ones who built this country. And these people got the vile hatred to come over here and have the nerve to insult American Blacks. Right? And supposed to fight for the rights of, say, like the person we're talking about, the little one, Dixon, the one that had been detained by ICE, who's been in this country for several decades, and act like that she'd been arrested by ICE for no reason. And have some family members trying to defend that nonsense of some genericalities. And when they found out what the truth was, they still trying to minimize that. So let me go ahead and finish playing this for a couple of seconds.
Okay. Niggas are worried about other people saying the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER.
That's crazy. That's crazy work. You're absolutely right, though.
Bro, am I wrong?
You're not.
No, you weren't right, bro.
I'm going to repeat it one more time.
I think you should repeat it 2 more times, bro.
Okay. Niggas are sending niggas to the ER, and y'all niggas worried about other people saying the ER, the hard R, when niggas are saying niggas to the ER.
And then he tried to make some kind of excuses with the last part, right? But where is people like Kate Sanchez type people at? That keep trying to minimize what American Blacks have been through, right? And numbers of American Blacks, about a million, allow people like this to sit there and just keep consistently insult American Blacks. But they think American Blacks are supposed to just vote for the heck of it. No matter what the insulting us, for the people, the ones who know they are supposed to vote for them too. Instead of voting as their interest. People have taken American Blacks for just taking advantage for American Blacks collectively for the last several generations. Consistently. But let me go ahead and get to this particular one last thing for a second. See, Kate Sanchez and other people within certain types of Hispanicism and some other groups, and she brought up Asians, right? I'm like, what's Asians? I know she got the nerve. How many stories has it been of certain numbers of Asians have shown anti-American Black hatred toward American Blacks? But Kate Sanchez won't talk about that, and certain other ones within that type of category, like Kate Sanchez, right? And some other ones, right? And just her person. Don't give a dang about her personality, personal thing. But it's a personal thing of how she and how other people make excuses for the blatantness, right, to minimize Black pain. And because they're immigrating statuses before, should we say, the ones who know they are. That they can just tell American Blacks anything and insult American Blacks, right? But American Blacks supposed to sit there and be like, yes, we got to stand with immigrants on situations like this right here. And again, that is an insult. Yes, it's an insult. This is what they're doing to Black people collectively. Right? Yeah, that's what they're doing to collective American Blacks. This is what they're doing. when they consistently insult American blacks and this insult American blacks left and right. Yes, yes. Because again, they think American blacks collectively are stupid, right? And this can tell anything too, and insult American blacks left and right. But if you start talking about certain things, American blacks start talking about certain things with Hispanicism, certain Asian, oh my goodness, y'all showing hatred. You said it's a disgusting tactic. See, they want to talk about, again, the numbers of Hispanics that have a hatred toward numbers of American blacks. They want to talk about certain types of numbers of Asians, the one that supplies to, they have a hatred toward American blacks. But let me go ahead and get to this last video relating to this particular Hispanic, Ryan Garcia's dad.
You're a nappy head, motherfucker. Nappy head, I saw. You're a nappy head, motherfucker. Nappy head, I sound like some racist shit. Yeah. Well, hey, that's what he's looking like. That's what he's looking like. I'm sorry. You're a nappy head, motherfucker. Nappy head, I sound like some racist shit. Yeah. Well, hey, that's what he's looking like. That's what he's looking like. I'm sorry. You got a nappy head.
That's Ryan Garcia's father with that vile anti-Black American hatred, vile. But if you start using certain words, and some people know what I'm talking about, oh my goodness, y'all talking about a hatred to certain numbers of Hispanics, right? And that game is allowed to be played, right? So I'm just trying to set the direction up on this because let me go back. No, let me not go back. Let me go back to this picture. But they sit there and think that immigrants built America too, right? Different. It's a similar topic we were talking about. But American blacks who have been within the top 2 people in America who have built this country. And you got people that are pro-border breaker illegal immigrants, groups and people. Certain numbers of political personnel who want continuously sanctuary cities. Right? They don't want any kind of enforcement of people breaking immigration laws, minimizing those kind of things. Right? Breaking immigration laws. Are doing a lot of visa overstayers. Oh, it's quite a number of them. Numbers of border breaker, numbers of immigrating personnel, et cetera, popping out those kids. Automatic citizenship. Off of what American blacks have had to go through in this country still are. They're benefiting off the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Numbers of various types of immigrating type personnel. Illegal immigrant numbers of personnel. Numbers of women popping out those kids left and right. And they're laughing. But can American blacks go to other countries and break immigration laws and do criminality and not think they're going to be kicked out that other people's country? Do you see the most silliest thing? They continue to keep acting as if American blacks so stupid they don't see this game, and they really do think American blacks so stupid that they're not supposed to pay attention to what's going on in these little tactics. Right? So before I go ahead and show this particular video or get into the main part of the topic, I mean, the insultingness of this, right? Immigrants built this America, right? This is what they doing when they sit there and say this dumb crap. Yes, so immigrants built America. And American blacks have been in this country more than the majority of immigrants even in this country, even came to this country. Do you say that's crazy, how that sounds? He said, where's all these immigrants when 13 colonies had some type of slavery? And then after that, you went to Jim Crow during laws toward American blacks. And still going into hatred, anti-American black laws of the 1900s. After still, American blacks have served in the military more than any other group of people ever in this country, besides certain ones within the Panamese culture. More laws have been put upon no other culture except American blacks. Nobody comes close to the hatred toward American blacks. And they talking about immigrants built this America. They really do think American blacks are stupid, collectively. Let me go ahead and play this particular, get into this main video. So let me go ahead and play this. Go ahead and share the screen. All right, let me make sure that's set up correctly. All right, here we go.
The ICE detention center in Tacoma back in the spotlight tonight. Among their newest intakes is a University of Washington lab technician. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the news at 10. I'm David Rose.
And I'm Sibera Rayford. Llewellyn Dixon is a green card holder who lives in Pierce County. Fox 13 reporter Nia Wong spoke with her family. She's at the Northwest Detention Center where Dixon is being held tonight. Nia, when was she detained?
Well, Dixon was detained coming home from the Philippines last month. She immigrated to the United States more than 50 years ago as a teenager. And as of tonight, she's been locked up here in Tacoma for nearly a month. A family trip back from the Philippines has been longer than expected since Llewellyn Dixon landed at SeaTac Airport in February.
She's been here over 50 plus years. Like, you would think that being a permanent resident is protected.
Lonnie Madriaga is Llewellyn Dixon's niece, who spoke with us from her home in Hawaii just hours after speaking with Dixon at ICE.
We were never provided any information why she was there.
She says her aunt never had an issue traveling in and out of America until returning from a vacation in Turkey last year, when a leftover ham sandwich triggered authorities.
She forgot it in her bag. So Customs warned her anytime when she comes back from international, they will have to search her.
So when her aunt was taken aside by Customs and Border Protection at SeaTac on February 28th.
She didn't think much of it because it's like, oh my God, it's because of that ham sandwich last year.
Madriaga says they didn't know what happened to Dixon until days later when her sister received a call from the ICE detention center in Tacoma.
Then that made us aware, like, oh my God, that this is a little bit more serious.
After weeks of speaking with a number of lawyers, Madriaga says an immigration attorney identified a potential reason for Dixon's detainment, an embezzlement conviction in 2001.
It's been
An embezzlement conviction in 2001.
It's been.
An immigration attorney identified a potential reason for Dixon's detainment, an embezzlement conviction in 2001.
It's been so long. Then it happened, and that was a mistake.
She believes her aunt hasn't had any other issues and has even entered into the healthcare field as a lab technician for the University of Washington.
And she's been working over at University of Washington for almost 10 years. I don't think her job would be protected. So that was our biggest worry.
Madriaga says Dixon was only a teen when she immigrated to America back in the 1970s, watching over Madriaga and her sister, who were only 8 and 7 years old at the time.
She promised my mom that she'll always take care of us. So especially me and my sister. And she kept that promise, even to now.
Now Madriaga and her family are doing what they can to rescue their maternal figure, who spent decades watching over their family.
A slap in the face toward American blacks by the millions that's supposed to feel sorry for this super criminal by their actions of embezzlement. What an insult. Yes, yes, yes. But at the same time, right? Now, Llewellyn Dixon, let me just read. Oh, let me go back before I forget. I almost forgot. Let me go back and read. Let's go back and read some of these comments on that. On that video, and I'm utilizing this as a what's called fair uses doctrine. On this, let me make sure. Okay, make sure my mute is off. Okay, now look at this for a second. let's just look at some of these. Hold on for a second. Let's look at some of them, make sure you can see these comments. Okay, yeah. Now look at some of these comments on here on this situation. Give me a second, make sure. Sure. Okay, now look at these comments for a second. Look at the. Oh, let me put this video back up. Hold on, let me put this thing back up. Let me go back and show. See, they try to make it seem like the show. Oh, look at this. Jesus is innocent. And then you read. You know what? Let me before I play this. Let me just read something about her as well. If I show you his comments. Lillian Dixon, who came to the United States from the Philippines 5 decades ago and is a green card holder, has been held for more than 3 weeks at a immigration and customs enforcement detention center in Tacoma. Lillian Dixon is 64 or 65 years old. Lives in Edgewood in this particular part of Seattle, Washington. She works as she did work as a lab technician at UW Medicine. She was detained on February 28 at Seattle Tacoma International Airport after returning trip to the Philippines, according to the family members. Then she was transferred on March 2nd to an ICE facility in Tacoma, where she's still in custody. And you hear some numbers of family members and et cetera, how many pro-border breaker, illegal immigrant groups and border breakers and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. Numbers of political personnel, et cetera, et cetera. Oh my goodness. They like they're such an innocent person. You know, and I showed you that picture at the beginning of the show about, or even in the clip, I think, about we must free Lillian, right? The game of this, right? Because then when you read about a little bit more about her, it talks about how she had a conviction for embezzlement in 2001. She had an embezzlement conviction. She had a embezzlement conviction in 2001. And isn't it interesting how all this time she didn't even tell the family members about that, right? But then when they found out, oh my goodness, well, that was a long time ago. What do you mean a long time ago? Talking about 2001. Oh, well, be worried about that. But Black Americans was another country and they committed embezzlement and they had some kind of green card type of visa, whatever it is, another country, and they did embezzlement. Do you know how fast they would kick them out the country? But in Americanism, you're supposed to look the other way. This is what they look at American blacks as stupid collectively and think American blacks are so stupid, right? And don't see through these games. Wow. And then the one person said, relative said, despite doing whatever they need to do at the convictions and sentencing, permanent residents like Dixon now have to prove themselves again. Oh my God. It's almost like they are warped in their thinking. So let me go ahead and get to these particular comments. Look at the comments. Make sure that's set up correct. Okay. You see the comment said, embezzlement is something that can revoke resident status. That may be why she never applied for citizenship. ICE is finally doing what they're supposed to do. As a naturalized citizen from the Philippines, this is what I voted for. From the Philippines, a naturalized citizen. They know, some of them know what the hell how that sound, right? They say, wait a minute, if we did things the right way and we apply for certain things, who the hell is she? And then she's an embezzler, right? But also you got people want to focus on, oh my goodness, look at black on black crimes, and I'd be like, man, how many silliness of some people, the people that allow people to sit there and put certain numbers of American blacks in a boxness of nonsense. Right? Black on black crime. You said, what about white on white crime? What about brown on brown crime? What about yellow on yellow crime? What about brown on yellow crime? What about brown on black crime? What about yellow on black crime? What about yellow and brown crime? You get the point, right? But no, you got to focus on black and black crime. Even though American blacks do not make up the majority of criminality and leading criminality, they do not. That's personal within the Panamese culture who are the leading people in criminality, the ones who do this. You see this game, right? And while these type of pro border breaker, illegal immigrant type personnel, right, and these border breaker, illegal immigrant personnel, and these various type political figures, et cetera, where are they at? Where it's like, wait a minute, the number one most hated group in America by crime stats, right, is against American blacks. Where are these same people at? But they bent over backwards all over the place trying to keep sanctuary cities and trying to help out border breaker, illegal immigrant type personnel and immigrating groups and et cetera, get resources and helping Ukrainian people on what you're going to do for Palestinian people. And you got to do all these different things, right? But when it concerns reparations and trying to do for American blacks out, who has been the number one most hated group, the number one most hated group, the number one most group that have been used the most for other people's agendas, you don't see nothing. Boy, the games of these people, right? Wow. 50 years sounds like plenty of time to get her paperwork in order. The media admitted that she was convicted of embezzlement. Yes, they make sure collectively to leave that out. Shows you how the media treats criminals, anyway, as if they're saints. So she committed embezzlement. Why would this particular people spend the first 2 minutes of the story pretending her denial of entry is a mystery? Common sense, people. If you want to stay in a foreign land, make sure you have the proper documents, refrain from doing crimes and illegal acts, respect and adapt to its culture. Many of them don't want to do that and follow the rule of the land. But if American blacks went to other countries and didn't follow the rule of the land, they would be kicked out. See how that goes? See how the hypocrisy goes? If in case your visa, green card, permanent resident status have been revoked and you get deported, don't blame the press and his managers for doing their job. Mainly, it's all your fault for not securing your status. Thank you very much, ICE, for stopping this person. She doesn't have an American pride. She did want it to become a U.S. citizen. She had her chances, but when it basically went against it. Too bad, huh? It took this person 15 years to become a U.S. citizen. They got tired of being a green card holder, and they planned to travel in the future. They knew it was the best time to become an American. They were born in Thailand, but they're not a Thai citizen. But their parents escaped from Laos, which is another whole different thing. They're proud to be American citizens. They only hold one passport, that's USA. 50 years and never did her paperwork. That's her fault. And plus, she committed a crime. Her fault, right? Not the sandwich. She is a criminal embezzler and that didn't have papers. Getting away for a long time doesn't innocent. Long time doesn't equal innocent. She committed a crime. She doesn't deserve to be in America, right? Embezzlement is a financial crime where someone entrusted with money or property fraudulently appropriates it for their own use, often while maintaining position of trust. She was convicted of embezzlement in 2001. Karma comes back in different ways. Green card does not guarantee permanent resident. Besides, she has a record. How stupid can you be to get flagged and not be legal and then continue to travel to the U.S.? 50 years. Come on now. Why make this fluff piece when clear the facts aren't in her favor? She has a criminal history and has not taken the steps toward full citizenship in 50 years. Enough said, goodbye. But at the same time, they want to sit there and pretend that she is such a innocent and victim type personnel, right? Right? So the only thing they want you to do, people to do, is like, just look at this, stand with immigrants. No deportation, no detainments, shut down whatever it is, rallying protests at this particular March 29th, whatever that time was, 1:30, free Luluin, right? And at the same time, immigrants built America. You see these little games. How does this sound? Muppets from the puppets or puppets from the Muppets? How does it sound that people that say that this is a nation of immigrants, when 200 years ago, Today, what is it? 2025. 2025, 100 years ago, would have been 1925. The majority immigrant trade personnel weren't even in America. So from 1925 to 1825, about 200 years ago, 1825, gigantically amount of immigrating personnel, pro-border breaker, illegal immigrant personnel wasn't even in America. And a very few amount of people that were seeing America like that, their numbers would have been minuscule. But they want to talk about immigrants built America. Where's all these immigrants built America, right? While American blacks were sitting there building a lot of the infrastructure of this country in those 1800s, helping to build national parks, working on those trains and stuff like that. But they want to sit there and try to show you, oh, that's Chinese. Wrong. The majority of the railways in America was built by basically blacks and numbers of whites. And how many numbers of American blacks have been used as free labor? Removing them from their homes and things like that to put in systems, should we say, I don't go into all that. Put in certain type of systems and use to sit there and ferry off to other different entities and for free. And then make it seem like American blacks are the criminality when you found out that how many were the number one people who have been removed and locked up and who have had more overturned sentences have been American blacks. The number one. But at the same time, American blacks are criminalities. But at the same time, immigrants built America, right? They really do think black folks are stupid, right? Again, where's all these immigrants at in the Civil War? Where's all these immigrants at? Where's all the immigrants at in World War I, where American blacks are still fighting and building this country? Where's all the immigrant numbers of groups and border break illegal immigrants in World War II, where American blacks numbers of gigantic amount of black males and numbers of black women as well, by the way. Black women, by the way, would have served in the military more than any other woman beside numbers of women within the Panamanese culture, which is a whole different topic in itself, right? Because the numbers of American black women allow numbers of white feminism to infect numbers of American black women's mentality, the one it applies to, where you still got numbers of black women were in segregated units themselves, basically, right? You see these games is going on, but American blacks are supposed to sit there and just vote for whoever, right, with no tangibles, while numbers of political figures do all they can to sit there and help out other different cultures and backgrounds and fight for pro-border breaker, legal immigrant personnel, fight for sanctuary cities, etc. But American blacks are supposed to just be quiet and vote for whoever. I mean, the insultingness, man. So anyway, just let me sit there and show you something.
Walked out of the Democratic convention. Delegates who walked out of the Democratic convention formed their own party.
The Southern revolt against President Truman reaches its climax at Birmingham under the states' rights banner.
The so-called Dixiecrats nominated the South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negro race into our theaters, into our swimming pools, into our homes.
The South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negro race into our theaters, into our swimming pools, into our homes, and into our churches.
Nominated the South Carolina Governor Party.
The Southern revolt
who walked out of the Democratic convention formed their own party.
The Southern revolt against President Truman reaches its climax at Birmingham under the states' rights banner.
The so-called Dixiecrats nominated the South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negro race into our theaters, into our swimming pools, into our homes, and into
But at the same time, right? Where was all these immigrants built in America then, right? Huh? I don't think so. And you got how many numbers of immigrating personnel, etc., that don't even know their own histories? 21 supplies to. How many border break or legal immigrants that don't even really know their own country's history, right? And ran away from their own country of many people that look like them, but they ran off, not legally. And how many ones that have immigrated to the United States legally, right, who have done it the right way and sit there and mind their business, don't try to insult American blacks, the ones who sit there and give credit to numbers of American blacks and say, well, not directly, because me, I'm not going to do it, but some of them like, yes, they understand that because the numbers of American blacks and what they had to go through, continue to go through, many numbers of immigrant personnel had the opportunity to come to America. Because there's also an agenda going on as well. But at the same time, this nonsense about immigrants built America. When 200 years ago in 1825, I'm going to use that as an example. For a gigantic amount of there's only 1825, the three largest populations in America would have been white, whatever that's supposed to mean, because there's some people who hide under the white banner. But in the early 1900s, the ones people know what I'm talking about, there were a number of people that were being classified as white or had the look of white, whatever that's supposed to mean, but they would have been accepted as white. Oh, some people know what I'm talking about on that, right? But then they became honorary whites a little bit later on, after the early 1900s, a little bit later on, because there was another type of agenda going on and stuff like that. I don't want, that's a whole different topic. So you see the disrespectfulness of this right here, immigrants built America, when they went even over like that 200 years ago, certainly 300 years ago in the 1700s, the American Revolutionary War in the late 1700s, right? When the constitutionality, United States of America, was founded, there was no gigantic amount of immigrants in this country in the 1770s, 1780s. But American blacks were still the largest group of people, like the ones that served in the military more than any other group beside numbers of ones within the Ptolemaic culture. And still was having laws put upon American blacks, still to not even be considered citizens in the 1700s. In the 1600s, dealing with slave codes. In 1600s, they're damn sure would have been, they would have not been too many at all of immigrating people to America like that. When slave codes were still going on in America. In 1700s, slave codes still going on. 1800s, right? 13, 14, and 15 Amendment Constitution. 1863, 1865, around 1868, 1870, right? Many numbers of immigrants weren't even around, let alone the Chinese Exclusion Act wasn't even going on in the Civil War time frame. But you got those people talking about, oh my God, Chinese Exclusion Act. Do you see how this goes, right? The games that people do play, right? Was all these Hispanics out in the 1600s? I don't think so. Mexico didn't get the independence to around 1820 something. And you still talking about Mexico, wouldn't even call Mexico prior to that, right? It was just kind of more toward a city part. And then when they got the independence, they became the United Mexican States, something like that. Right? But American blacks were in this country before Mexico really became Mexico. And that would have been the closest group that you would say immigrants are immigrating up here. And that's a whole different topic, because there are certain numbers of Hispanics, certain numbers of Mexicans that actually do think, and many don't even know their own history, they really do think America is their country. Do you see how the southwestern parts was owned by Mexico? How in the hell can it be owned by Mexico when the Aztecs were the last major civilization in Mexico, right? Before Hernan Cortez in the early 1500s start, and lost to the number of Spanish conquistadors. So how the hell can Mexico own something that was already here before Mexico before Mexico became Mexico? You see this game? The game is an insult, I'm telling you, toward numbers of American blacks by the millions. And only a few sections of American blacks know these games. But at the same time, American blacks are supposed to be quiet and tolerate disrespect by numbers of immigrating personnel, the ones who do this. They're supposed to tolerate legal immigrant personnel breaking border immigration laws. Numbers of women popping out those kids, getting automatic citizenship, but American blacks still supposed to just vote. Because vote for whoever that people are telling them to who they're supposed to vote for and not get no tangibles. I mean, the nerve. The nerve. This is what I have to say again. Unfortunately, because of so many internal problems, and unfortunately, there is some self-hatred going on because this system has messed up numbers of American blacks. Instead of more numbers of American blacks understanding they have the most uniqueness of a culturalness in America that nobody else comes close to, that nobody else can go through what American blacks have been going through for centuries and not be damn near eradicated, damn near. Nobody can go through what American blacks have been through. Nobody. And not get no reparations. And again, I'm not talking about coons and some sellouts, some gullible numbers of ones within certain parts of American blackism. Not talking about them. So anyway, I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show. And by the way, where's all these people, these border breaker, illegal immigrant personnel, and et cetera, et cetera? When this still was going on just as much. Colored waiting room, right? Where's all these border breaker, illegal immigrant personnel? Where's all these immigrating groups where this is still going on? Huh? And this is why I'll say that people of color nonsense. It is a nonsensical slang terminology. People of color. What does that say right there? Colored. Communities of color. Do you see how that makes no damn sense? Look, black folks are called colored. They won't call the numbers of Hispanic people colored because they have a little color to their skin. They won't sit there and say, oh, you over there the culture, you got a little color to your skin. You're people of color. They were calling black folks colored. Right? So that's why that silly ass people of color word is just that silly. And people are playing games toward American blacks because millions of American blacks are allowing American blacks to be called people of color and communities of color. This is what I have to say again. The unfortunate for all these games that continue to keep going on, right? And then things like this happen, like this situation too.
I don't believe in segregation. I believe in slavery.
Where's all those people at again? Where's all these border breaking illegal immigrant personnel? Where's all those people at? They're talking about like this stand with immigrants, free Lillowin. Where's all these different immigrants? Huh? When this stuff is going on less than 100 years ago toward American blacks, the black pain. Huh? Let's play this again. Huh?
I don't believe in segregation. I believe in slavery.
But at the same time, American blacks, about a million, is supposed to sit there and fight with immigrating this and people breaking border immigration laws and numbers of immigrating this type people who know they are, that's getting free resources. All that gigantic amount of billions been going to Ukraine. when people have also reported that numbers of Ukrainians and down in Houston, Texas, and some other different cities have been driving around getting free money for doing nothing. And black folks must support the Palestinian against the Israeliness and stuff like that. When you ask this question, what was Palestine before Palestine? But they know that American blacks are not good at history. Because those areas what would be called ancient Canaanite, after Cain. And Cain would have been of a blackness. Right? And what about the Afro-Palestinian people? Huh? You see how this goes, right? But again, they feel that millions of American blacks are just stupid. That they can say anything to American blacks about the millions, and multi-millions of American blacks will not checkmate people on their nonsense. I thank you for tuning in.